Hey everyone, what's up? It's Ellie here. It's been about a year since Starfield released, and in that time I have been exploring as many of its nooks and crannies as I can. And I have found so many little Easter eggs and references, so many I couldn't realistically put them all in one video in a reasonable time. So here today I have 60 film and television Easter eggs and references. I hope you all enjoy them. Barely hidden at all is a big sad spill located at the Infinity Ltd building in New Atlantis. A lone blue oven mitt sits beside a spill coming from a large stock pot, a reference to this iconic scene in The Office US.
I'm serious about this stuff. I'm up the night before, pressing garlic.
A would-be pilot, Altagracia Gonzalez, is an NPC in Starfield that can be found in the well at New Atlantis. A dialogue option the player can choose similarly quotes Norman Osborn, played by Willem Dafoe in the 2002 superhero film Spiderman.
Harry tells me you're quite the science whiz. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
In this terminal located in an apartment in New Atlantis, which becomes accessible during the quest Alternating Currents, is a message from Newman to Dodgson. In the 1993 film Jurassic Park, Nedry purchases stolen dinosaur DNA from a character named Dodgson. Nedry is played by Wayne Knight in the film, who is also well known as the actor who plays Newman in Seinfeld. Looking back at the message itself, you can see that they are discussing bypassing security and planning a heist. This is quite similar to the characters' conversation in the film regarding the smuggling of dino embryos off of the island.
You shouldn't use my name.
Dodgson! Dodgson! We've got Dodgson here! See, nobody cares. Nice hat.
In New Atlantis, you'll likely find a scientist named Kelton Rush, who is enamored with an anomaly in the growth of the oldest tree in New Atlantis. While discussing another scientist, Rush will go on to quote Dean Yeager from the 1984 Ghostbusters film.
Your theories are the worst kind of popular tripe, your methods are sloppy, and your conclusions are highly questionable. You are a poor scientist.
Inside the Lock, a prison located on Suvorov, accessible through the Crimson Fleet questline, is an easily missable reference to the classic novel The Green Mile by Stephen King. In the very first space of the prison, where you were first attacked, is a desk with a note that reads, "We need bigger cuffs for prisoner JC 1932. This guy is huge, JC being the initials of John Coffey, a main character of the novel, who was also a very large individual. The actor who took on his role in the 1999 film was Michael Clark Duncan, who was 6'5", and the 1932 was the year that the book was set in.
We got a dead man walking here. Dead man walking. We got a dead man walking here.
First aid. It's enough.
Also located at the Lock, inside cell D3115, we can find a familiar prison break scene. The prisoner seemingly escaped using a hammer with the tunnel hidden behind a poster, just like in the 1982 novel, also by Stephen King, and its 1994 film adaptation, The Shawshank Redemption. Found in the Red Mile, a casino and hotel found on Porrima 3 in the Porrima system, is a sneaky Redrum, written on the side of a filing cabinet. It's easy to miss, but this is also a reference to Stephen King's horror novel The Shining. Also known for the classic 1980 film rendition, Redrum refers to the word murder spelled backwards. Another reference to the classic horror The Shining is located under the stairs on a derelict station that you are led to through Andrea's storyline, Not only could you recognise this from The Shining, but the actual original reference is from a proverb by James Howell in 1659. Just after you regain consciousness and create your character, you'll briefly be able to walk around, pick up items, and talk to NPCs. One of these NPCs are sitting at a table with a sandwich on a plate. Walk over and pick the sandwich up and...
Hey, that was my sandwich!
This is a classic joke about the occasional staff member claiming others' lunch as their own in the workplace, and it really gives Ross from Friends vibes.
It was my sandwich!
Following the Vanguard questline, you'll come across a combat bot Model R. Upon first interacting with them, you'll have been directed to say something in particular. However, the game also offers an almost alien-like option. This option actually happens to be the universal greeting, used as a means to express goodwill towards alien beings when a language barrier is present in the Transformers universe.
Don't act hostile. I'll use the universal greeting.
Universal greeting?
Watch. I'll have him eating out of my hand. Ba weep grana weep ninibong.
Ba weep grana weep ninibong?
Ba weep grana weep ninibong.
When visiting Dr. Manning at Reliant Medical in Neon City, they will quote the Doctor, a reoccurring character in Star Trek Voyager. A recurring line in the series that the AI Doctor says upon activation.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
This isn't the first time Bethesda has used this line.
Please state the nature of your medical emergency.
This old baseball decoration references a specific famous baseball, setting us in 1978 Boston. The treasured ball is likely one hit by Bucky Dent in 1978, a player widely remembered for hitting a 3-run home run that gave the Yankees a 3-2 lead in the tiebreaker game against the Boston Red Sox. Though this is mostly a IRL Easter egg, not so much a film and television, I decided to include a very loose reference that may also apply to this item. In Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Commander Captain Benjamin Sisko is given a baseball from an alien impersonating a legendary baseball player within that universe, Harmon Buck Buckeye, a human baseball player during the 21st century, considered by many to be one of the greats. Sisko actually keeps this baseball on a stand in his office. So this seems to be another reference in that show to the same ball, but it could also mean that this particular ball, being a baseball decoration in Starfield, is in fact a loose reference to this desk decoration in Star Trek as well. I only keep this in because Bethesda is constantly including extremely obscure Star Trek Easter eggs in their games, and I felt like someone was going to make this connection in the comments anyway. During your character creation, you'll have the option to choose the Kid Stuff trait. If you do, you'll also have the option of visiting and interacting with your character's parents. And if their voices did sound particularly familiar to you, that could be because they are voiced by Nana Visitor and Tim Russ, aka Major Kira from Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Commander Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager.
Signing bonus alone. I love you all the more for it.
To become a provisionary member of the UC Vanguard, one must complete Supra et Ultra, the first United Colonies faction mission. One of the exams the player must pass during this mission is a pilot simulator. Defeat the simulated ships that appear before you while keeping your own intact. Each successive ship will be tougher than the last for up to 6 tiers, but you'll have to defeat the tier 3 ship at least in order to pass the examination. During the examination, you can get up from the simulation and use a nearby computer's debug tools to give yourself an advantage while reporting your results. This will actually be highlighted to attest to your curiosity and resourcefulness. This felt quite similar to the Kobayashi Maru, which is a training exercise in the Star Trek franchise, designed to test the character of the Starfleet Academy cadets by placing them in a no-win scenario. Kirk famously beat the Kobayashi Maru scenario, in the 2009 film by reprogramming the simulation. He hacked into the program and altered the conditions so that he could win, which was considered a bold and unconventional approach. This event is often used to highlight Kirk's resourcefulness and ability to think outside the box.
Photons, prepare to fire on the Klingon warbirds.
Yes, sir.
Jim, their shields are still up. Are they? No, they're not.
Exploring the cosmos holds countless surprises, and the First Contact mission stands out as an intriguing encounter. Hovering above Prima 2, the location of the Paradiso Resort, lies a 200-year colonist ship launched from Earth 2 centuries ago in search of a new home. These pioneers were outpaced by the technological advancements of the rest of humanity. Upon entering their ship, you may notice that they are wearing themed uniforms. In Star Trek, the captains wear red, the scientists wear blue, and security and technicians wear yellow. Apart from the captains wearing a reddish purple instead, this colour theme on board the Constant is the same. I also found that another player mentioned one of the crew members in the ship's engineering area will refer to fixing capacitor NCC 1701, which is the model code of the USS Enterprise. However, I personally was unable to find and hear this prompt from anyone there. I may have just missed it. Vasco is a bipedal robotic companion and member of Constellation. With hundreds of lines of dialogue, a line in particular seemed familiar, echoing a phrase often used in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
All systems are functioning well within established parameters.
This is a nod to a phrase used by the character Lieutenant Commander Data, a clear homage to the iconic sci-fi series and its beloved android character.
All systems are functioning within normal specifications, Doctor.
Though the hero worship trait is a very obvious Easter egg within itself, it actually has a secondary layer I want to point out first. Hero worship is a common phrase to label an excessive admiration for someone. The name hero worship could also be a little additional nod to Star Trek, in particular the episode Hero Worship. It's a pretty small detail, but since we were on the topic and I noticed a connection there, I thought I'd point it out. At various vendors, you'll be able to pick up a range of tranquilities. This one in particular, Earl Grey, holds a neat little nod in the description to Captain Jean-Luc Picard, as it is referenced as their favourite beverage throughout the Star Trek franchise.
Captain. Tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Occasionally, as you explore the systems, you'll see these mysterious games that sort of look like a game of space chess. I don't know what this game is or how exactly it works, but they sure do look a little like the elemental stones in the 1997 film, The Fifth Element. A group of brick-like objects that, in combination with the Supreme Being, otherwise known as the Fifth Element, becomes a powerful weapon capable of defeating the evil that threatens Earth.
Shut up! Calm down. Just all right. Take me to a step by step, all right?
Starfield has featured many different posters on the walls of almost every location, so it's no surprise that a lot of them have a deeper meaning or a reference. The Blue Harvest poster, for example, is a reference to Star Wars, with the Blue Harvest being the code name for Star Wars 6, Return of the Jedi, while it was filming. Aboard the Scow, a ship you'll be directed to in the mission No Sudden Moves in the main questline, is a mild reference to the 1977 classic Star Wars A New Hope. After a successful persuasion check on the first guard, you can turn around and drop down to the underside of the platform, which seems to be a bit of a dumping ground for junk. With not much light other than an ominous red glow, you're not alone, but with a heat leech who is non-hostile. This area seems a little inspired from the trash compactor scene, where even the heat leech could be a loose reference to the one-eyed alien creature they also come across.
You know, it's not gonna take them long to figure out what happened to us.
Could be worse.
To venture into contraband smuggling, you'll need a shielded cargo hold. If your credits allow, the vendor in Atlantis near the landing pad often sells ships already equipped with this feature. Alternatively, locate a vendor offering a shielded cargo hold and install it on your ship. Once you've acquired some contraband, which you can find in security checkpoints or jails, stow it in your ship's shielded cargo hold. Fast travel to another planet for a scan. After a successful scan, the achievement "I used them for smuggling" will unlock, a reference to a quote by Han Solo in A New Hope.
Boy, it's lucky you had these compartments.
I use them for smuggling. I never thought I'd be smuggling myself in them.
This one is a bit of a short and sweet one, but the in-game bounty hunter spacesuit does have a similar colour to that of Boba Fett, one of the most fearsome bounty hunters in the Star Wars universe. But it doesn't really stop there. Starfield clearly has a wealth of Easter eggs, and character creation is not excluded, with the bounty hunter and space scoundrel backgrounds very likely references to Star Wars characters like Boba Fett and Han Solo, who self-describes as a scoundrel.
Scoundrel? Scoundrel? I like the sound of that.
Astra is a rare currency that can be found around the galaxy. Once you go to the Trackers Alliance HQ, complete your first bounty mission for them, and become an official tracker, you'll be able to give Astras to a tracker agent named Stash in exchange for rare equipment. Astra can be obtained by completing bounties and other missions. It can also be found as loot. Now, does this sound familiar at all? Astra seems awfully similar to Beskar, also known as Mandalorian iron or Mandalorian steel. It's an alloy that's notable for its high tolerance to extreme forms of damage, and is used by the armorer to forge special armor for the Mandalorians. Due to its exclusivity and strength, it too is considered a valuable form of currency in the Star Wars universe. Located on a randomly appearing point of interest, a POI, is a perfect photo mode op. Found in the autonomous Dogstar factory location, which spawns in hilly mountainous biomes, is a subtle reference to this iconic scene from the Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Digipic as a subtle nod to a lightsaber included. In Starfield, there is an abundance of the Silence of Sand posters. You can also find this print on Cora Co's shirt. It appears to be a reference to the Star Wars universe, adorned with two suns over a desert. They seem to directly allude to one of the most iconic scenes in Star Wars, the twin suns of Tatooine setting over the desert. Additionally, the shirt could also be a reference to the 1965 novel and the 2021 film Dune, depicting the harsh desert planet of Arrakis, which has 2 orbiting moons. Once again, taking it back all the way to the character creator, there are some faces you may recognize in the options of prefabricated characters. These two in particular very strongly resemble characters Amos and Naomi from the science fiction TV series The Expanse, a show that is set in a future where humanity has colonized the solar system. The sari dress is a cultural garment, a stretch of fabric often in bright colours and patterns. The sari dress in Starfield stands out for its unique visual style and also offers a persuasion boost to the player. The persuasion boost itself could be a reference to a character from the series The Expanse, Christian Ava Sarala. This character, known for her strong personality and distinct fashion, often wears ornate traditional Indian saris. The actor who plays her, Sheree Agdashlu, is actually a voice actor in Starfield as well. There are some other hidden faces in the character creator too, like this dead ringer for Jack Burton from the 1986 film Big Trouble in Little China. There's also an option to choose the background long hauler and the space tracker's outfit if you want to complete that roleplay.
Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir, the check is in the mail.
Located on the Paradiso Resort, there is a computer with some logged information regarding lost and found items. If you have a closer look at this list, you will notice a few references here. The first references a sapphire heart-shaped necklace, which is a description of Rose's necklace, Heart of the Ocean, from the 1997 film The Titanic. An antique digital music player was found hanging from a tree branch by the headphone cord. I'm thinking this is Guardians of the Galaxy's Star-Lord Zune player. And the fact that it was found hanging on a tree branch could be a vague but small nod to Groot, tying the reference together.
It's called a Zune. It's what everybody's listening to on Earth nowadays.
A red and white bicycle had also been left behind, perhaps after a film shoot. This leads me to believe that it could be a little nod to the 1985 film Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Morning, Pee-wee.
And lastly, found in a pile of volcanic ash while a guest was exploring a nearby island, the one and only the One Ring. Thought to be destroyed in Mount Doom, it seems it's time to find a new volcano for this bad boy. In Starfield, a quirky nod to the Lord of the Rings hides in plain sight, with the humble potato. Echoing Samwise's iconic Tater's speech from the Two Towers, adding a dash of Tolkien's magic to the cosmos of Starfield.
Potatoes! Boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew.
Titan is one of the 7 moons of Saturn located in the Solar System, home to the United Colony settlement of New Homestead. Its origins as the site of modern colonization make it an interesting place for tourists to make the trip and learn about the old ways of living in a colony, as well as taking a look at some old Earth artifacts. Taking advantage of the opportunity is guide Bill Starsap, who leads tours in and around the colony. He's a nice guy who overall appears a little desperate and seems to have some level of trauma regarding his previous relationship with his ex-wife, of which he mildly touches on over the course of the tour. And in some ways, he reminds me of the character Bill Dotteriv from King of the Hill. Sharing a first name, I wonder if this may have been on purpose. Starfield is of course covered in art and posters, some of which seem to have particular meanings or references buried within. This one in particular can be found in multiple places and seems to be a film poster for Muzzle Me, which to me is a direct nod to the 2008 film Marley Me. After completing the deputized quest in Aquila, you'll gain access to a Ranger mission board in the Rock, aka the Rangers HQ. Once 4 missions have been completed, you'll find a mission on the board when you return, named One Riot, One Ranger. This is a nod to the classic 1990 television show Walker, Texas Ranger, starring Chuck Norris, and it's the name of the very first episode. But the origins of the phrase actually have a more historical origin that it could be referencing too, going back to sometime in the late 1800s where Captain Bill McDonald of the Texas Rangers himself broke up an illegal boxing match in the US state of Texas, becoming a prideful tale in history. In Starfield, the drug Reconstim has a unique shape that I think clears it for a reference to the inhaled drug Niroin, depicted in the 2002 film Minority Report. This is an Easter egg I really didn't expect to be in Starfield. It's a voice line that can be heard quite casually by security guards. I'm not sure if it's exclusive to specific NPCs, but I've only heard this one from a neon security guard. This line could be referring to the TV show Phineas and Ferb, who own a platypus named Perry that doubles as a secret agent. Their mission is usually to foil the plans of their nemesis, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who also mentions from time to time that they are an orphan. Skills at different ranks in Starfield have various emblems to represent them. In this ballistic rank 4 emblem, we can see an octopus holding multiple guns, but this kind of looks familiar. In the show Futurama, specifically episode 5 of season 6, The Da Vinci Code, there is a scene where an octopus is shown handling multiple guns just like the emblem. Have you ever looked at this poster and thought it looked a little familiar, but you just couldn't quite put your finger on it? Though it doesn't seem to be a direct reference to anything, it may just be a play on the various animated series popping up recently that seem to all stylistically resemble one another. Found in various locations is an e-grub paperweight. This e-grub looks quite similar to the critter Khan used in Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan.
What do you think?
In this terminal located in an apartment in New Atlantis, which becomes accessible during the quest Alternating Currents, is a nod to the 1999 film Office Space, with the total value referencing this scene.
Oh shit.
Located up in the ceiling of a mine on Mars that you run through to get to the Red Devil's HQ for the first time is this slate, referencing a comedy skit from a 90s MTV show called The State, in particular the bearded men of Space Station 11.
And as we all know, beards do not grow in space. As such, it is my belief that you 5 men, from now on I will refer to as the bearded men of Space Station 11, are actually aliens, and as such should be committed to life imprisonment in space jail. Are there any questions?
But he has a beard.
Well, then he's an alien.
He's not, he's from Pittsburgh.
In New Atlantis is a shop named Outland. This armor shop might just be an Easter egg and shares its name with a 1980s space western starring Sean Connery, and is also based on a book called Outland by Alan Dean Foster. An armillary sphere is a real-world model of objects in the sky, consisting of a spherical framework of rings, centered on Earth or the Sun, that represent lines of celestial longitude and latitude, and other astronomically important features. In Starfield, the armillary is a device that's made when the artifacts are brought together. This kind of device has been seen in quite a few pieces of popular culture, and in particular the armillary from Starfield looks quite similar to the one from the 1997 sci-fi film Contact. As a random encounter, you'll come across a ship being attacked by a lone ecliptic ship. Take them out and hail the ship you saved. If you dock the ship, 2 Ryujin operatives will explain that they are attempting to install a control board to remedy a rogue AI called Juno created by NASA, but the last technician was killed as a result. There are a few outcomes to this scenario, and it's one of my favourite encounters. The rogue AI Juno is a reference to Howell from 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Following the Space Odyssey references is a neat little tidbit that the person who voice acts as Keeper Aquilus is actually Keir Talia, who played the main character Dr. Dave Bowman in the film. And the whole Starborn, Starchild thing is quite a similar concept, it just has to be intentional. Following the companion questline for Sarah Morgan, you'll have an impactful conversation towards the end. As a response to something Sarah says, the player can choose a dialogue option that references Morpheus from the 1999 film The Matrix. I only opened the door, you're the one that stepped through.
But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
This one is really easy to miss. I almost missed it myself, But located at the Red Mile is a ship vendor named Lon. Upon visiting him, another NPC will approach him, beginning the conversation with an exaggerated Mr. Anderson. The interaction could be a nod to the 1999 film The Matrix, where Agent Smith similarly greets Neo.
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
Orbiting Schrodinger 3 is a ship called the Colander. The Colander is a derelict spaceship that feels a lot like exploring a creepy dungeon, but like most places has a bit of a story to unfold. Something is loose on the ship, and according to information in the medical bay, it's likely something incredibly vicious and is most likely the cause of the crew's death. This mysterious alien interloper can be found at the last depths of exploration, and is tough as hell. The whole experience feels like one whole role-playing experience straight out of the classic 1979 film Alien. As first implemented in Fallout 4, Vasco has a vast list of names that they can say in reference to your character in Starfield, but some of these names are not like the others. For example, Vasco also says some names from the 2015 film Mad Max Fury Road. During the Freestar Rangers questline, you'll be given a gun called the Justifier. I believe this could be a bit of a nod to the neo-Western television series Justified, which follows the story of a US Marshal, and it is a US Marshal that gives you the weapon in Starfield. And of course, the connection of that neo-Western theme, meaning a Western set in present day, which perfectly describes the Freestar Rangers, and in particular, Aquila City in the present day of Starfield. When speaking to Keeper Aquilus, a dialogue option will appear during a specific conversation following the main questline. I might be stretching this a little bit, but your character can suggest to name the next planet they find Dum Dum. This could be a reference to the Great Gazoo, who is a tiny alien from the Flintstones. Their catchphrase was Dum Dum. I also think that the reference was made here because though Keeper Aquilus has an obvious lack of green pigment, I think his attire complements the reference anyway. A starship in Starfield that unlocks in the later levels bears a resemblance to the ship from the 2004 sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica. This parallel is likely intentional, as Battlestar Galactica was originally conceptualized as a space version of Wagon Train, a 1957 classic Western TV series. Located at Constellation, in Sarah's office on her desk is a report, the Clark Lewis. The report outlines the destruction of the Clark Lewis colony ship, which was reported lost in the year 2257. It was a subject of much contention within Constellation, and the reported events almost directly parallels that of Event Horizon's plotline. The rescue ship in the film was also called the Lewis and Clark.
Negative. This place is a tomb.
And I know, I'm definitely breaking a rule for this one, but I just had to include this in the video. Located in a point of interest at POI that can randomly spawn, called the Deserted Freestar Collective Garrison, is a sneaky little reference to the 1999 cult classic Fight Club. You might first come by this slate that hints that there is a fight club to be found, so head on over to the storage area and have a little look around. This POI spawns in hilly mountainous biomes.
And final rule, if this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight.
While this may not look like anything to you, Westworld fans will definitely be turning their heads. This tabletop setting will stop any fans in their tracks with a quote from the popular TV show and various tools that can be associated with the production of synthetic human hosts. This is actually an Easter egg I haven't found yet. From what I can gather, it spawns at a point of interest, and from the screenshot I found, it was an industrial point of interest. But no matter how many industrial POI I found and explored, I just couldn't find it. I reached out to the person who took this screenshot and they unfortunately didn't remember the location name. But if you have found this one, let me know which POI it was and I'll pop it in the description.
First, have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
No.
This Easter egg is a bit of a spoiler for the main storyline. In regards to the quest, A High Price to Pay, if you haven't gotten there yet, maybe skip this one. Alright, I warned you. So, during this particular quest, in which there are multiple outcomes, if Sam Coe dies, there is a hidden tidbit during his memorial service while talking to his portrait. There will be an option to say, "See you, Space Cowboy," which is a reference to a song from a season finale of the anime series Cowboy Bebop. This Easter egg caught me by surprise. While I was in combat with Andrea, I noticed she echoed a familiar sounding line, "Are you prepared to die?" This could be a stretch, but paired with her accent, it really threw me back to Inigo Montoya in the 1987 film The Princess Bride.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Aboard the scow is an abundance of treasures collected by Captain Petrov. You'll be directed here in the main quest line. In his quarters is a little shrine to his very first credit. This could be a reference to Mr. Krabs' treasured first dollar in the SpongeBob television series.
And without getting a drop of paint on anything but the flap and flotsam, what's that? That's not just a dollar, it's Mr. Krabs' first dollar, his most prized possession, and we got paint on it!
In Starfield, Parsec Pooch is a nod to Snoopy, who has been linked to NASA for over 50 years. The iconic beagle has a long history with space exploration, from comics that excited the public about the space program to the lunar module named Snoopy for its role in scouting landing sites. Found in a few locations is this graffiti with this symbol. It does in fact reference House Varun's sigil within Starfield, but this rough representation also looks quite similar to the alien language in the 2006 film Arrival, in which researchers attempt to accurately decipher messages from the alien race to stop humanity from starting a war they just couldn't win. It's possible that we'll encounter similar themes from this film when Starfield's first DLC, Shattered Space, is available. And that is everything I have right now for film and television references. If you have any others, feel free to share them in the comments. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, as I'll be doing this again for the different themes like gaming, history, literature, and more. Lastly, I have taken the leap to open up a Patreon page because, let's face it, I'm a small creator and these projects are massive undertakings for me. Patreons will be featured at the end of my videos and gain access to exclusive monthly discussions from myself diving deep into my life on YouTube, my creative process, and more. If you have ever been curious about myself or this channel over the years, my exclusive video series on Patreon will be exactly what you're looking for, with detailed Q&A follow-ups. This will be available for YouTube members also, so if you enjoy my content and would love to see more sooner rather than later, consider supporting my work here over on Patreon. Either way, I always appreciate the love and support on my videos themselves. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!